Not in victory does duty end, not through service, nor with death endured does duty end, not with vengeance taken, nor penance served, nor hunt's final blooding does duty end. For never can duty truly end, save by the command of the Emperor himself, and none of us shall live to hear such a benediction given. Yet take heart, for duty is its own reward, and we shall never be without it. Those were the words of none other than Master Belial of the Dark Angels. What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40K. In this one, we're going to go into the lore of who the Grand Master of the Deathwing Knights is. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Belial was born into the nobility of Burgundia, a semi-feudal world ruled by knightly orders known as societies. Belial's father, the Magister Militum of the Society of the Ebon Star, raised him to be a warrior and a leader. Burgundia serves as a recruiting world for the Dark Angels, who visit periodically to select the best knights for testing. At the age of 17, Belial secretly entered a tournament to be chosen as an aspirant for the Dark Angels, despite his father's disapproval. Disguised, Belial won the contest, but refused to reveal his identity when Captain Lamorak demanded it. Instead, he challenged Lamorak to a duel, which lasted far longer than anyone expected. Ultimately, Lamorak defeated Belial, but upon revealing his identity, his father insisted on choosing another aspirant. Lamorak, however, overruled him, recognizing Belial's exceptional skill and potential. This decision led to Belial leaving his society to join the Dark Angels, benefiting both the chapter and the Imperium. During his time as an aspirant and scout, he quickly became known for his exceptional combat skills, defeating all but the most experienced of warriors. Upon becoming a full-fledged battle brother, he challenged Captain Lamorak to a rematch, and he won in under a minute. Belial combined the teachings of the Dark Angels and his upbringing in the Society of the Ebon Star, striving for perfection as both a warrior and a space marine. Skilled with both bolter and blade, and knowledgeable in tactics, strategy, and leadership, his rise through the ranks was steady, but marked by extensive learning and development. His drive for self-improvement led him to impose rigorous self-punishments for even minor mistakes, and as a sergeant, he shared this ethos with the squad. Over the decades, he and his squad earned renown within the Third Company, influencing many to join the Deathwing. At one point, the Third Company provided more warriors to the First Company than any other, further cementing his legacy. Belial rose to prominence during the Black Crusade, where he led the Dark Angels' Third Company against Furion, a Chaos Lord of Khorne. Despite heavy losses, Belial's leadership and tactical skills enabled the Third Company to hold off Chaos, ultimately defeating Furion in a one-on-one duel. This victory led to his promotion as Master of the Third Company and awarding him none other than the Sword of Silence by Azrael himself. Belial's next major campaign was during the Battle of Piscina IV, where he led a small force to defend the planet against the Orc warlord Ghazghkull and Nazdrag. Despite near-fatal injuries, Belial managed to repel the Orc invaders, saving the planetary capital. His leadership and determination were pivotal in the defense. Following the death of Grand Master Gabriel during the 13th Black Crusade, Belial was named the new Grand Master of the Deathwing. His leadership style remained stern and exacting, as he sought to atone for the Deathwing's earlier failure aboard the Space Hulk Charnel Shrine. With a relentless drive, Belial led the Deathwing on a 73-day purge of the Hulk, systematically eliminating both Genestealers and Orcs. The operation culminated in the destruction of the Hulk, restoring the Deathwing's honor. And as such, Belial's quest for perfection and his unyielding leadership solidified his place as a legendary figure within the history of the Dark Angels. Throughout countless years, his legacy has been carved through the blood of Xenos, heretics, mutants, and the vile forces of chaos. But it is in no other place than the hunt for the fallen angels where his true purpose lies. His cold ruthlessness and unrelenting efficiency serve him well, a stark contrast to the recklessness of the Grand Master Samael of the Ravenwing. However, together these strategies to capture the Fallen merge Samael's daring ingenuity with that of Belial's obsessive drive and methodical persistence. The interrogator chaplains, ever consumed by this endless pursuit, had found their days filled with the hunt as the decades of the 41st millennium dragged on. To Belial, every Fallen yet to be caught is a festering wound upon the honor of the chapter, an insult to his very soul. Their continued existence mocks him, gnawing at his every thought. The quest for redemption is his sole focus, and in his mind, it is inseparable from his unyielding search for perfection. Under his unyielding and merciless leadership, the Deathwing have earned fearful respect across the galaxy, though at a very grim cost. They have triumphed in the desolate wastes of Crassia too, and torn through the violators on Tarak in a campaign marked by unspeakable brutality. It was Belial who arrived just in time to rescue Samael from the crushing grasp of Marbas, the fallen demon prince. With the sword of silence in hand, he severed the abomination's hand, yet failed to destroy it, allowing the monstrosity to escape with a newly grown claw. In all his long and bloody service to the Dark Angels, the only adversary to best Belial in single combat was the monstrous orc warlord, Gascoigne Thraka, and the ravaged world of Piscina IV. The memory of that failure festers in his mind, a painful reminder that even his unyielding will can be broken. Now, in more recent events, during the brutal siege of the Rock in the Arcs of Omen campaign, within the dark years of the era Indomitus, Belial stood as an iron pillar in the defense of the Dark Angels' mobile fortress monastery against the relentless forces of chaos, which were being led by the greater demon, Vashtor the Arcaphane. As the battle raged, Azrael, in his grim wisdom, appointed Belial to command the defense of the Rock from the Tower of Angels, the command spire where death seemed to linger in the air. While the Supreme Grand Master prepared to face Vashtor in personal combat, Belial's steel will anchored the chapter's resistance, though it would come at a great cost. Later in the hellish inferno of the Battle of Yggdratos, Belial led the Deathwing in a boarding action against the chaos-tainted ruins of Caliban, their lost homeworld, now a twisted demon world known as Wormwood. The air thickened with corruption as Belial and his warriors descended upon the Forsaken Land, only to face the terrifying wrath of the demon Primarch Angron. In the ensuing chaos, Belial was struck down, his body shattered by Angron's cursed axe. As the deathless rage of the demon Primarch surged, Belial was dragged from the field, his form battered and broken, carried by his loyal Deathwing veterans. Desperation clawed at the Dark Angels as their apothecaries fought against time itself. The only hope for Belial's survival was the forbidden and agonizing procedure of the crossing of the Rubicon Primaris. The surgery was brutal, tearing through the very core of his being, but it succeeded. Belial rose from the ashes, reborn into the ranks of the Primaris Space Marines, now more monstrous than ever, his twisted soul racked by the agony and his resolve still unbroken, ready to return to the battlefield with an even darker purpose: revenge. His legendary weapon that he brings to him to battle is known as the Sword of Silence. For in times of need, Belial wields this famous master-crafted power sword. This sword is one of the legendary swords collectively known as the Heavenfall Blades. These formidable weapons are only carried by the highest-ranking members of the inner circle of the Dark Angels. The chapter's lore states that these blades were forged from the core of a meteorite that struck the rock in orbit around the pharaoh world of Al-Baradad. The mightiest of these blades is the Sword of Secrets, which is carried by the Supreme Grand Master of the chapter, and the current wielder is that of Azrael. The blades wielded by the Master of the Deathwing and the Master of the Ravenwing also utilize small amounts of the obsidian taken from this meteorite. The Sword of Silence has traditionally been gifted to the most lethal close-quarters combatant in the Dark Angels, and this sword seems to swallow nearby light and sound, absorbing them into its glowing obsidian blade. And with that being said, guys, we are now to the end of this awesome lore for the Deathwing commander, Belial. So now that you know all about this guy, you should go back and check out our previous videos all about the Dark Angels. All this will be leading to a special video this Friday talking about their Primarch, Lionel Johnson. So with that being said, guys, be sure to stay subscribed so you get more of that awesome Dark Angel lore. But that's all I got for today. So thanks again for watching, commenting, subscribing, and sharing. And as always, it's been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.